Great day, young learners. Fasten your seatbelt because we are now going to start with our lesson, which is on properties of multiplication. What are the properties of multiplication? Let's start with the first one. First is commutative property of multiplication. What does this say? It states that the order of the factors does not affect the product. What is its example? First, 4 times 5 equals 20. Now, from its definition, if you are to interchange both numbers, say 5 times 20, I mean 4. Again, 5 times 4 equals 20. You still get the same product. That is commutative property of multiplication. Let's have the next one. 6 times 3 equals 18, or 3 times 6 equals 18. Second property of multiplication is the associative property. Associative property of multiplication states that the grouping of the factors does not affect the product. So for example, you have the numbers before the equal sign, which is grouped using a parenthesis. 2 times 3 times 5 equals 2 times 3 times 5. Going back to the numbers on the left side of the equal sign, you first have to multiply the ones inside the parentheses. So for example, 2 times 3, that will give you 6. You're still left with 5. So on the left side, 6 times 5 equals 2 times, and then multiply the numbers inside the parentheses, you will have 3 times 5 equals 15. This isn't the final answer yet, or the final product using the associative property of the multiplication. Okay, to continue, multiply 6 by 5, or 6 times 5 equals 30. That would be the same with the ones on the right side. 2 times 15, it will give you 30 as its product. So associative property of multiplication, again, it states that the grouping of the factors does not affect the product. Okay, so this is our second property. Next is the distributive property of multiplication. This property states that when a number is multiplied by the sum of two or more numbers, which is referred to as the addend number 1 and the second addend, the product is equal to the sum of the product of the number and addend 1 and the product of the same number and addend 2. For example, 6 times 14. Okay, this is the number on the left side or before the equal sign, and on the right side of the equal sign you have 6 times 10 plus 4, which is enclosed in a parenthesis. Okay, now next step is that the numbers after the equal sign, you have 6 times the ones inside the parentheses. You have to distribute 6 on the given addends. You have addend 1, which is 10, and the second addend is 4. So you still have to bring down or copy 6, and then I'll show you how it's being done separately. For example, 6 times 10, instead of doing it this way, I'll show it to you. Okay, by doing this one. 6 times 10 plus 6 times 4. Again, this is taken from this one. Okay, now on this side, you have 6 times 10 equals 60 plus, okay, this is still the operation, plus 6 times 4 is equal to 24. Now, if you are to sum them up, 60 plus 24, you have the product, which is 84. Okay, next. The fourth one is identity property of multiplication. This property states that any number multiplied by 1 equals the number itself. No matter how big, how small the number is, when it's multiplied by 1, the answer or the product would still be the number itself. For example, 1 times 8 equals 8. Another, 23 times 1 equals 23. Notice that the numbers being multiplied, they somehow was not in the same position, same as the first example, but still you get the same answer, or the product will still be the number itself. So for example, 1000 times 1, the answer will still be 1000. Okay, now let's try to answer some numbers or somehow our practice regarding the lesson. Let's identify what property of multiplication is shown below, or shown in each number. Let's have the first one, which is 10 times 1 equals 10. You may comment down using our chat box for your answers on these practices. What do you think? How about number 2? 4 times 2, which is enclosed in a parenthesis, times 6 equals 4 times 2 times 6, which is also enclosed in a parenthesis. Number 3, 20 times 2 equals 2 times 20. And 4, 5 times 16 equals 5 times 10 plus 6, which are what you call the addends, 1 and 2, still enclosed in a parenthesis. Okay. Now, if we are to answer that, number 1 would be identity property, because you have 1 when multiplied by a number, you will still get the same number, or the product will be the number itself. 2, 4 times 2 enclosed in parentheses times 6. Notice there are parentheses in both sides of the equal sign, left and the ones on the right side. So there are changes when it comes to the grouping. So the property is associative property of multiplication. The third one is 20 times 2 equals 2 times 20. Both numbers are interchanged. And this is commutative property of multiplication, which states that the order of the factors does not affect the product. Then lastly, 5 times 16 equals 5 times 10 plus 6, with a parenthesis on the right side and 2 addends are present, and that is a distributive property of multiplication. Okay, that's it for today.